And hello, everybody. Tyro back. Attempt number 2. For whatever reason, Discord did not pick up my buddy, Finesse. As you can see, I was looking at a pro Dota buff Hobo Harry. I guess he's not a pro, he's just underneath, but I was looking at his Dota buff. Anyways, we're going to do bracket predictions. Starting at the bottom, going up. I'm joined with my glorious and faithful captain, Finesse.
Hello, hello.
So after this week, instead of predictions or anything like that, what will happen is I'll talk about the match of the week with a guest host, whoever that may be, and then we will look through some plays of the week, as it were. You guys did not submit very many plays of the week. In fact, there was only one submitted, and that was by Savage Sabers. So, going forward, help me out. Submit your cool plays so that I can put them on my video. Otherwise, I will be forced to comb through all of your games, and I don't want to do that. Anyways, quick into it. Savage Sabers versus Tactical Feeding. I don't have this one as much of a competition. It's Savage Sabers all the way for me. You mentioned that they had lost their offlane. But
Allegedly.
Yes. Tactical Feeding has not looked great in the last couple of weeks.
I actually sat next to their offlaner at TI.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Ares, yep, sat next. I think he's their offlaner. Last I checked, we did have quite a few liquid courages there at TI to help, obviously, Team Spirit win. But yeah, had the pleasure of sitting next to actually Noodle and Ares both over at TI. So that's the Tacticals. I believe it's his their carry, and their offlaner as well. But we just played Savage Sabers. I think they're very formidable. They just 2-0'd Pizza Dogs. I think just like we talked about, in round 1 of attempting this.
Yeah.
Here's round 2, right? Is really Savage Sabers they're only in lower bracket because of a tiebreaker between us and them. So it could have gone either way, but they're starting out in lower bracket. But I will also give Savage Sabers probably a 2-0, if I'm being honest, against Tactical Feeding. So let's go ahead and put them there. And then Hadamitis and Dingoes. All right, so I know originally, when we first did this for round 1, I hadn't looked at any season standings, just kind of going off of what I knew. I have had the pleasure of playing Hadamitis back when we were both in Warrior last season. We 2-0'd them, I think, if I remember correctly, although we both had probably some different players on the team, being that we're both in Challenger now. But I did see the standings as far as what the season looked like beforehand. Hadamitis did 2-0 Dingoes. Dingoes is showing a little life. In the beginning, I didn't know, and I put Dingoes as moving forward. You know what? I'm going to stick with it. I'd like to see Dingoes kind of go. Yeah, I'm going to stick with it. I think Dingoes still has a little bite left in that dog of theirs, so I'm just going to go ahead and put them as moving forward. I think it'll probably be a 2-1, if I'm being honest with you.
Quick disclaimer for anyone who saw my first video, I reserve the right to change any of my opinions from video 1. And yes, I am a hypocrite. So, continue with that. I am going to keep with my previous prediction. Hadamitis has been building up steam. They've looked better and better. And I think that they close out Dingo's season here in week 1. Going on to Jay and Pizza Dog. I do not change my prediction here either. I think, again, Jay has been building up a full head of steam. I think they went 1-1 against Pizza Dog earlier. They started slow. I think they had Daddy's Dictatorship in week 1. And they got stomped. But Jay has been getting better and better. US Danny is a formidable player. and I believe in him. So I think Jay over Pizza Dog. And for those of you who did not watch, we are assuming reverse bracket like it has been in previous seasons. So Jay dropping down to play Hat of Midas, in my opinion. Or not Jay, Pizza Dog.
Pizza Dog. Okay. I'm gonna stick with my guns here. I think Pizza Dog. They had talked about getting a new offlaner. They had posted about it. Then or not an offlaner, a mid laner. I think that was the team that was looking for a new mid laner. I don't think they changed, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick with them going probably a 2-0 against Jay. I know we played Pizza Dogs. I've got that dog in him. We played Pizza Dogs probably in our worst series ever against them. It was not very good. I know we were very off as far as just as a team in general, but I guess we'll see them at some point in these playoffs. But yeah, I definitely think Pizza Dogs will probably take it over Jay, and then that would move Jay, if I could just do this correctly, Jay down to the lower bracket against Dingoes here. We have quite a bit of different opinions on these teams here.
So far, we do.
So far, we do. Oh man, this one's coming up. So Nameless versus Daddy's Dictatorship. We went 1-1 with them in our series during regular season. I would say both, if I remember correctly, both games were over an hour, or at least one of them was definitely over an hour, and I believe the other one was either close to it or just over. So it was pretty much a bloodbath. Both games. I'm still gonna stick with I don't know if we're gonna be at our top best. I know we have one of our players is not feeling the best right now, and then I'm still just getting over COVID from attending TI. So I think Daddies will probably go ahead and take the series against us. So I'll go ahead and put them here, and then that will drop Nameless, the beloved Nameless, down to lower brackets, which would be really interesting because the last 3 series, including tomorrow, we would have played Savage Sabers. We played Savage Sabers, I think the last regular season series, we played them in tiebreakers, so that was 2 series ago. And then if we drop to lowers, we will play them for a 3rd time in the last 4 series. So a lot of exposure to Savage Sabers. Apparently, but allegedly, if this plays out the way I believe it to be. But yeah, that'll be my prediction. I think we'll drop to lowers, have a lower bracket run, and I think Daddies will sit up top just for a while.
All right. So, in the previous week, I argued we picked up a full head of steam. We're playing very, very well right now. And I'm going to keep to that. I do believe that we played Daddies with our previous 2 members. I don't think we had Charlie or Ash yet. We still had Dumb Bomb and KC. So it's a different style that we're going to have. I think we've got some things that Daddies hasn't seen that they're not going to be ready for. And I think we 2-1 them. I don't think we're good enough to 2-0 Daddies. I think their mechanics are too clean. Wild Daddy is too good of a player for us to 2-0 them. But I do believe that we win over Daddy's Dictatorship. Also, they're the first overall seed, which means they got to choose who they wanted to play. They picked us. They think we're the easy out. So we have something to prove.
Or they just want to get the hardest team out first.
Oh, that's what it is.
And make their lower bracket run. Who knows?
All right. Daddy's Dictatorship versus Savage Sabers. Again, this is just Daddy's Dictatorship. Savage Sabers has played well, but I don't think they're going to survive past week 2.
Okay. I would also say, just based on the last series that we had against Savage Sabres, we will probably 2-0 them, or it'll be a 2-1. I remember, like in our tiebreakers, um, our first game, I think we were feeling ourselves a bit, picked some stuff that we haven't really practiced or were, I'll just say, super comfort with, and we had a plan. It didn't pan out. And so I think so they took game one in our tiebreaker series. In game two and three, we just stuck to what we knew and kind of the strategy around that. And I would say pretty convincingly beat them both games 2 and 3. So that's why we're in the uppers and they're in the lowers. But I don't see, unless there's a huge setup, I don't see them progressing past uh, playing against us this
Yeah.
third round. This third round. So yeah, I'll go ahead and put Nameless as winning that series. And then as we were looking at Jay and Big Dingoes, I know Big Dingoes has that dog in him, but I think this is where that dog stops
Yeah.
and gets put down. So unfortunately, RIP to all the dogs out there. I'm going to go ahead and put Jay as probably a pretty convincing 2-0 against Dingoes in the lower bracket, and then we'll see what happens in the uppers.
So it's interesting. We have the top of the lower bracket there completely different. Our two teams totally opposite. I love Hat of Midas. I think that what they've done is impressive. I think their growth is impressive. But welcome to playing against a team that has plus 14 weight. It's hard to get over playing against a team that is almost all Legend 5s.
Yep.
Yep.
It's just what it is.
Yeah. Statistically, yep.
And
you have to dig deep in the arsenal to figure out how to really be cohesive and beat players that statistically are just higher, let's say much higher, but just higher level or higher rank than you.
Yeah.
But you never know. Could always be an upset somewhere.
I am high on Hat of Midas. If this all came to pass and Hat of Midas somehow beat Pizza Dog, I would be thrilled. No hate to Pizza Dog. I've just been a fan of Hat of Midas this season. Doing all the content every week and getting to watch their journey. They've made me a fan. So,
Perfect.
Moving up, this is where Tyler becomes a hypocrite. Last week, or yesterday when we did round one, I was on the J hype train. I love you, US Danny, but I do believe this is where you go to the lower bracket now. For me, I think we went 1-1 against them in the normal season.
With Jay, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we had moved on to Charlie at that point, but we still had KC.
We definitely have some, with the Nameless roster this season, we had a roster change. We had some position changes throughout the season to make things fit, and then unfortunately our offlaner Casey had a work conflict and could no longer progress with the season, so we had to get a new offlaner. So a lot of this stuff is new. I mean, we do have some new, some nice new things that we can pull out, but we're still kind of just working on being more in sync with each other. And I think a lot of it, like you and I spoke before, a lot of the top 4, top 5 teams, they've all beaten each other. All of them have beaten each other. All of them have gone very odd upsets. Where for two series stick out in particular where we weren't not a disclaimer, but we definitely did not play our best against Pizza Dogs. Got 2-0'd pretty heavy-handedly, and then Savage Sabres comes around and beats Pizza Dogs, and then we go and beat Savage Sabres. So it's like this. It's just kind of a toss-up, a roll of the dice on where folks are going to land. I do think the top 4, maybe top 5 teams are pretty much all even. Just kind of at that point depends on the draft, depends on comforts, and just that synergy across the team in general.
Yeah. I agree.
All right. I think it's my turn looking at uppers.
Correct.
All right. Ugh, this is a tough one. Pizza Dog and Daddy's Dictatorship. I want to say they went 1-1. They did go 1-1 in the regular season. I don't have the games pulled up, but that was about four. I think that was 4 series in, so they're kind of getting their bearings. I think Daddy's is actually going to take this. I forgot what I did yesterday when we recorded this the first time, but I think I'm going to stick with Daddy's here and
I
just
think
say
you
I
went with
think
Daddy's.
okay. I think Daddy's is
pretty
going to
sure
go
you
ahead and go here. I think Pizza Dogs, as statistically as good as they are, I think they're going to fall. So I'll go ahead and put them there. The dog, like Dingoes, they got that dog in them, but I think the dog is done at this point in time. So they'll probably drop to lowers. And then looking at the lower bracket series before that, we have Jay and Nameless. I'm still a pretty big Nameless believer, obviously.
Yeah. Hard to
So
root
I'm gonna
against you
go
again.
ahead and put, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put, that we probably do a 2-0 against Jay, or at least gonna do a 2-1. Again, we played them pretty early on in the season. We had a different roster. We were still trying to figure a couple things out. So we did have position swaps. We had roster changes. I do think we are a bit more formidable in some areas that we were maybe weaker in beforehand.
Mhm.
So I'll be interested to see how that series turns out, if this prediction is accurate. But other than that, I think we'll probably get the win out of that series.
Okay, so I guess it mirrored where we play Jay in the upper bracket, and Daddy's Dictatorship plays Pizza Dog in the lower bracket. So I guess distorted mirror. Daddy's Dictatorship is the only team in Challenger that I would consider to be on parity in their fundamentals and in their technicality with Pizza Dog.
That's fair.
Daddy's is ranked a little lower in the weight, but not much. And I think Daddy's Dictatorship has something that Pizza Dog does not have.
Heart.
Well, kind of,
Fire.
actually. It's
Wind,
kind of.
water. Yeah.
It is cohesion. And it's cohesion around having fun with the game. And I think whenever you have 5 players who are all just having a blast, you play extremely well. And whenever I watch Daddy's games, or whenever I play against Daddy and they smack us in game 1, that's what it looks like. It almost looks like they're goofing around, but they're all very good. So I like Daddy's to beat Pizza Dog and move on to the lower bracket grand final. And then Jay against Daddy's. I'm going to put Daddy's in again. It's tough. I could actually see that match going either way. So this is a 2-1 for me. I'm not sure if it's really close. It's hard because I've watched Jay. They started very slow, and then they closed out the season by just killing everyone. So it's a tough pick.
Yeah, I was gonna say their last series, Jay's last series was against PZR, which was a 2-0, which that doesn't surprise me at all.
No.
I think just kind of going back to, there is a very stark difference between kind of the top 5 teams and then the rest of Challenger. It doesn't really matter about rank weights or medal weights or anything like that. I just based on the games that I've played, that we've played, there tends to be just a higher, I don't want to call it a higher tier of Dota, but people just kind of have their shit together. And they're more in sync. There's a lot more synergy between kind of the top 5 teams and how they play. versus kind of some of the other folks that we've played in the past. But yeah, I was going to say, I was looking at J2O PZR. They did play Pizza Dogs, went 1-1, had a Midas, they 2-0'd. We went 1-1 with them. So I think they've had, looks like they played Derail, they played Radiance Invoker, 2-0'd both of them. So again, like all the teams that are kind of like below the top 5, it's a 2-0. Pretty much all the way through, and then kind of the top 5 teams, it's either going to be a tussle, it's going to be a 1, or it's going to be a 1-1. So I'm still going to kind of keep that idea that, you know, if it's a top 5, it's going to be a toss-up. If it's anybody below, I think it's pretty straightforward who's going to come out on top.
All right, I am interested. Do you believe that we get our revenge on Pizza Dog?
On December 7th?
On December 7th.
Live and in person, 9 p.m. Eastern. Gotta start charging for that. Man, I would like to think so. I mean, at this point, I think based on both of our bracket predictions, generally the same teams are going to end up probably in the top 4. Again, top 4 or top 5. I think the lower bracket is pretty standard. There are some pretty stark differences between just like when you look at the beginning of, you know, HOM versus Big Dingo, Savage Sabers versus Tactical Feeding. I think those are pretty obvious wins. Like, if given all things equal, they play their game the best that they can. I think it's pretty obvious who's going to probably win. As you get into the end of the playoff series, I'm a believer that we do have some good changes as far as just maybe addressing some weaknesses that we had when we originally played Pizza Dog. So at the end of the day, I'll be hopeful. I think it's a toss-up, just a roll of the dice on kind of who's playing their best, who's got the best draft, who's the most comfortable with the heroes that they're on. But I'm gonna go ahead and put that we make it to grand finals. If it's between us and Pizza Dogs, I do like an underdog story, and I do think we are the underdogs based on just statistically looking at I just pulled up all of their Dota buffs. They have Legend 5, Legend 5, Legend 5.
Yeah.
Ancient 1. Four of these players don't even remotely qualify for Challenger. Shout out to Johnny Lemon. He's Archon 5 from Dota buff, so thank you for
So I don't know if this is I don't know if this has changed, but look carefully at Johnny Lemon's games played. The dude has only played tournament games this season. He has not played any ranked.
Let's see. I have Johnny pulled up right now. I would say he's played quite a bit of ranked. You might be looking at somebody else's. Yeah, he plays quite a bit of ranked games.
That may have changed, because I think I have it listed here I did have it listed before I changed the records, that he hadn't been playing ranked.
Looks like maybe about a month ago there was a week where he only played like 2 games in between 2 tournament series. So like maybe in a week time span, he only played 2 games outside of league series. But other than that, he looks pretty active. So I don't see.
So maybe it was someone else.
Yeah, maybe it was someone else. Huh. But yeah, definitely I got the Dota buffs pulled up. I mean, yeah, they have 4 players that are way above level. I'd be interested. I might even be as curious to look at the AD2L roster list and see what they clocked in at as far as the roster lock, and just to see how far they've all actually gone. I mean, kudos to them for just coincidentally, air quotes, getting so much better over like a 6-week period.
Listen, it's small enough that you could probably argue natural grind.
Hey, never know.
Quick disclaimer for everyone who's watching the video. I say plus 14 weight. That's just the weight that shows up if you put in, the max badge. If you wanted to theoretically go over and say, hey, Ancient 1 is actually an extra plus 6 or plus 8 or whatever you say, then it's going to be higher. I don't, just because I like to keep things consistent. If someone's a Crusader 2 in Challenger, they're only going to get the -3. I'm not going to take it down to -5. That's not how it works. So I'm going to keep it consistent going the other way. So just I'm treating them as 4 Legend 4s for that plus 14.
There we go. All right. Shout out to Pizza Dogs. Okay. I think is it still my turn, or are we gonna?
It is still your turn.
All right.
Tell
well, here
me
we
who
go.
wins. We have the exact same finals.
Yeah, I really think the way either of these, it's either going to be, Daddy's making a lower bracket run, or it's going to be Nameless making a lower bracket run. Obviously, given all things equal, everybody's playing in tip-top shape. Um, everybody's playing optimally across the board for all teams. I think you and I both consider probably Daddy's and Daddy's Dictatorship and Nameless to be the top two if we're all firing on all cylinders. So I think honestly, for tomorrow, which is going to be our first playoff series against them, I'm still kind of up in the air, if I'm being honest, about just how everybody's feeling, even mentally and physically as well. We got a couple folks that are still recovering from ailments, but I think we'll probably get our revenge. So we went 1-1 in regular season against Daddies. Obviously there's going to be a deciding match here. If it goes 1-1, there's going to be a third game, and so somebody is going to move on during our playoff series tomorrow, and then we're going to have the decider on December 14th. I'm just going to go ahead, all things equal, I'm just going to put Nameless down as winners of grand finals. And the reason I say that is because I think Daddies is a great team, but I think they play weird shit, and it's always funny and interesting to play weird stuff because like most folks that do, you're either going to pop off and people are just very unfamiliar with it and you're going to run over another team, or it's not going to go the way that you thought it was. And I'm just going to roll the dice and say I know they like to play weird stuff at times, especially Wild Daddy. So not so much meta picks in specific positions. I don't think it's going to work out, and so I'll mark that and stamp it and say I think we'll take them in the grand finals. It'll probably be a 5-game series if we want to do best of 5. I don't know if they'll want to do that.
Okay,
but
let's pretend it is best of 5. What do you think the score is?
I think it's going to be a literal fucking bloodbath. Or
3-2?
Or one of the teams. It's again. I think we're pretty even. I think one of the teams. It's either going to be a stomp or it's going to be a full 5 game bloodbath.
Okay. This is rough. Yesterday, I predicted Daddies to win.
I think you said they were going to get the revenge on us from knocking them down to lower brackets.
Yes. And that, for me, last week, that was here in the lower bracket grand final, or the lower bracket final, is where I said Daddies would get their revenge. So I didn't even have us in the championship game last night.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you had us in the lead up. What is that? The semifinals? I think you had us in the lead up to it, and then that's where Daddies and Nameless would play, and we duke it out there. I mean, again, I know we're both on Nameless, but I like to I'll caveat this whole conversation. Yeah, I caveat this whole conversation with any of these top 5 teams could literally be in grand finals. This is purely just predictions based on what we know.
Yeah.
But any top 5 of these teams, and even any of them beating each other, is not, in my opinion, an upset. Because they're all, in my opinion, pretty equally matched.
Okay, I am going to... operate it under a couple of assumptions. First assumption, both teams are playing lights out Dota. Second assumption, the patch drops before December 14th. I believe it's going to come any day now, but for sure the patch comes before December 14th. I think Nameless's players have an incredibly wide hero pool, and we can play what's meta regardless of what is meta. So I will also pick Nameless to win. I picked Daddies yesterday. Yesterday I didn't even have us in the finals. This is very, very difficult. I almost want to pick Daddies again.
I was gonna say now everybody's gonna see this. Say,
Yeah,
those
they're gonna see this and be like, "Oh, the nameless people are picking Nameless to win."
They think they're gonna take it all, aren't they? And then we're gonna get knocked out in lowers. Yep.
Yeah,
so
we're gonna lose to Daddies tomorrow, and then we'll lose to Savage Sabers.
Yeah, that's exactly what's gonna happen. Probably need to make a third prediction together with the prediction is after people watch this video. That's gonna be the third prediction bracket.
No, the third prediction bracket will come out tomorrow night after we've lost to Daddies.
There you go. Okay.
Any final thoughts heading out of this? What's the best game tomorrow? If you're a viewer, you're out of the tournament, you just want to watch some Dota. Which one of these is the best?
To be honest with you, I hate saying this again and putting Nameless in there. I think the deciding factor for how the uppers and lowers will go are literally between Daddies and Nameless, because whoever goes down to lower bracket will probably make it all the way to semifinals, and then it's going to I feel like it's virtually going to be between Nameless, unless there's some type of setup it's gonna or upset. It's gonna be between Daddies, Nameless, Pizza Dog, and who was the other one?
Jay.
Yeah, and Jay. It's gonna be probably between those four, and anybody that beats because we basically have all of them leading up to semifinal. All of them are included in semifinal, at least in one of our predictions, and one of the and all the teams are in grand finals. So again, I think anybody can take it out of kind of those top 4, top 5 teams. I think the biggest probably series to watch is going to be Daddy's Dictatorship and Nameless. I think probably Savage Sabers and Tactical Feeding is a pretty standard, just probably a 2-0, 2-1 if maybe Savage is goofing off a little bit. Hadamitis and Dingoes, that might be. I have seen Dingoes play super well, and I have also seen them not play very well at all. So I want to feel like maybe Dingoes has a chance. That might be a good series to watch as well, Hadamitis and Dingoes. As far as Jay and Pizza Dog, honestly, that would probably be a pretty good series to watch as well. I think the only one, sorry Savage and sorry Tactical, the only one I would probably skip if I had to skip one and watch the others would probably be that one.
Yeah.
All the other ones I think are pretty good.
I think for most impactful, the most impactful one to watch would probably be our series. I think the most fun one to watch would be Hadamitis versus Dingoes.
Yeah, I think so as well. It still could be a toss-up. You never know.
Yep.
All right. Well, sounds good. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for coming by. Again, everybody, please submit your plays from your series this week. I appreciate it. I will be back next week no matter what. I will have another guest host, whether it's Finesse again or whether it's somebody else. And we'll break down some really cool plays.
All right. Awesome.
We're